Samsung is setting a very bad precedent whenever it comes to their previous phones. So hear me out on this one. The S24 Ultra will not get some of the features, some of the AI features that the S25 has, and it seems incredibly arbitrary and like they're trying to gatekeep something that doesn't require a gate because a lot of people don't want it anyway. But that's another story. So apparently some executive or somebody who works with Samsung sat down and had an interview recently and said that the S24 Ultra and other devices will not get some of the stuff on the S25 because of basically hardware limitations, but the hardware limitation seems arbitrary at best. So if you're familiar with the S25 series phones, you've got this thing called the Now briefing. I mean, which is neat, but it's not something that's groundbreaking and requires, I think, quite the level of power that they're talking about. So what is it? They've got the Now briefing, which, it'll pop up. You can access it. They've got a morning brief, they've got an afternoon brief, and then they've got like a nighttime brief. And whenever you do that, it tells you like the weather. It gives you like an article, a suggested article to read. It's supposed to monitor kind of what you're doing, how you use your phone, and give you some suggested information that you might otherwise be looking for, be interested in. Except it's basically like nothing. It's like one article and the weather. And I've been using this phone for almost a month. And I mean, as neat as it is, I don't really think that it's really taking advantage of the 4.47 or 4.47 gigahertz processor. There's just nothing there that really seems like it would require that much craziness. Now, hear me out. The Snapdragon 8 Generation 3, very powerful chipset, 3.36 gigahertz, very good in the AI front. And if you take a look at a lot of the AI, a lot of the stuff is not necessarily done on device. Now, Samsung has this like personal data drive engine thing where it's contextually aware. It allows you to do things like use simple speech for searching through your photos or your files or your settings, the Now briefing and certain things like that. But as somebody who's intimately familiar with hardware, and I've been doing computer hardware for like 30 years, this just doesn't, to me, scream like this is an actual limitation. Now, when you take a look at the Google Pixel problem we had last year, the Pixel 8 and the Gemini Nano on-device AI model that they were trying to use, yeah, it didn't seem like it was that big of a task, but it was the model that it needed to be able to run. And the problem wasn't that the processor couldn't handle it, it was that there wasn't enough RAM. 8 gigabytes of RAM did not allow for it to be able to run to its full potential to where it would run completely properly. Now, they eventually said, okay, you can go into developer settings, you can enable it. They just couldn't guarantee you would get the level of performance that they kind of expected out of the product in that regard. So this, with their personal data drive engine thing that they use and the Snapdragon 8 Elite processor, like, look, the Snapdragon 8 Elite processor is fantastic, but so is the Snapdragon 8 Generation 3. And the major upsell last year with the Snapdragon 8 Generation 3 was, well, the AI components that was in it, so you could do all these crazy AI things. And then we're like, what crazy AI things are we doing? It's mostly done off server. I mean, it's mostly done off the device. And now we have something that's so simple and trivial. It's not like we're doing advanced calculus here and we've got like a fourth grade education capability. I mean, I graduated high school and college. I can't do calculus, but there's a lot of stuff that goes into these chips. And I could understand if it's like, okay, if let's say Magic Eraser, let's say it was done completely on the phone, and let's say it did even cooler stuff, and you're like, okay, I don't even know if that's a good idea. You'll get the picture, right? It's a simple thing that they're saying can't be done because of the new chip. Now, two things are either happening. Either one, it's very true, and in which case it's very troubling because it's a very simple thing. You're telling me that they just can't do it. Okay, cool. But second thought, are they lying? Are they lying? And then they're just like, oh, we're just going to gatekeep this, and this is how we're going to start gatekeeping AI features. And the whole thing with Samsung Galaxy AI, same thing they talked about last year, Galaxy AI for all. It's like AI for everyone. They tried to get out in front and tried to say, okay, you got a Samsung phone, you can use our AI features. And there's a lot of AI features out there that do require a lot of hardware. They require horsepower. They require access to cloud AI servers and all sorts of stuff so they can handle these complex tasks. And that's cool and all, but for something like the Now briefing, it just seems Like, that shouldn't be so far-fetched. And if it is so far-fetched, then what are we doing with our technology? Like 4.47 gigahertz, 2 primary cores. I mean, it doesn't even have any efficiency cores. They're all like mid-tier and high-level cores. And these things put out some serious power. They can handle some serious computations. They can handle some serious AI processing. And they can't do this now briefing? You tell me the S24 Ultra can't handle this now briefing. So, all those questions raised, what does 7 years of support actually matter? And I said this last year. I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe a couple of years you'll be like getting meaningful updates and stuff. And it was a good sign, right? When the S24 came out, they're like, okay, cool. By April, here we go. You've got these AI features. We're rolling them out for the S23. We're rolling them out for the S22. We're rolling them out limited for the S21. That was cool. 4 generations of phones with a lot of the new AI stuff. That's cool. Then we hammered Apple because Apple came out and they said, surprise, if you don't have a 15 Pro renewer, then you're screwed and you can't use Apple Intelligence. And then we've seen mostly what a joke Apple Intelligence is and how useless it is. So it's kind of an arbitrary gatekeeping thing too, but still, nonetheless, that was an Apple decision. But at least we knew it was because the previous phones had 4 gigs of RAM, 6 gigs of RAM. Like, they didn't have the RAM or the neural processing capabilities in many instances to be able to do some of this Apple Intelligence stuff. So if we're saying that this $1,299 phone can't do what is a seemingly basic AI task 1 year later, how much stock does that give you in continuing to support this? How many people are going to continue throwing their hard-earned money? How many people are going to be incentivized? And here's the other thing. This little now briefing thing, I mean, it's cool. I like it. But is it something that I'm going to pay $1,299 for? No, absolutely not. So the AI is not groundbreaking enough to be walling it off and gatekeeping it. But then, to the fact that the whole gatekeeping is based around this idea that the hardware can't handle it, when it's like saying, okay, you can play Genshin Impact, but no, you can't play tic-tac-toe. Your phone is not capable. Your phone cannot handle this. What? That just doesn't make any sense to me. So this whole thing, either it's real. If it's real, it's really pathetic. Or if it's not real, then it's a terrible gimmick that people are going to see right through. And it's like, this is so arbitrary, right? That's such an arbitrary thing to try and gatekeep. I mean, if there were these cool, amazing, can't live without them AI features, maybe. Like, maybe I could see that year over year. I mean, but here's the thing. We're not making that big of an advancement year over year. I mean, yes, it's cool that we have a 4.47 gigahertz processor. We got a 1 gigahertz top-end speed, 40% better power efficiency, 40% better at AI, 40% better at GPU, hardware-based ray tracing. Like, there's some cool stuff there. Like, those are really cool things I've been talking about. But then you look at this stuff, and then on top of that, we're sitting here, and we probably still aren't going to get One UI 7 for the S24 Ultra until April. It's looking like April at this point, which would be forever. Basically, Google will almost have a stable version of Android 16 come out by the time One UI 7 gets here. So there's just a lot of questionable things that are going on. I like the S25 Ultra. I think it's a fantastic phone. There are some people who don't see that it's that big of a difference. And in some areas, yeah, I will agree with you. It's not a huge upgrade. I'm calling it an S-series upgrade like what we used to get with Apple. But that's just like the surface level problem that people have. And then it's like, okay, we took away some features. So we don't have the Bluetooth features on the S Pen. Got it. Okay, now you're telling me, so what kind of limitations will this have next year? And we're advertising the S25 is the most amazing phone ever made in the history of mankind, but then the S24 Ultra can't do this seemingly simple AI feature. And then what's going to be the limitation next year? How is this going to be the most amazing thing since the toaster oven and sliced bread? But then next year, what's this limitation going to be? And is it one of those things where it's a meaningful feature they're going to gatekeep, or is it going to be something where it's like, okay, we don't care about it again? You're going to have a lot of people really unhappy about this. And that's not the only thing people are going to be unhappy with. I've got a whole separate video I want to talk about this. It seems like they're charging people restocking fees now. Now, I'd seen something previous about how they were going to charge them for foldables, tablets, and wearables, but there was nothing in there for regular phones. And now I'm getting feedback from some people saying that Samsung's actually charging them a restocking fee. So I'm like, a lot of bad indicators here. A lot of bad indicators that I'm not very happy about and are concerning to me. So we'll see what happens as we move forward. But let me know what you think. I think this is a pretty terrible gatekeeping thing, and I don't think it's wholly necessary. Anyone, I don't want to say anyone, but I mean, when you have the level of hardware that the S24 Ultra has in it, this shouldn't be a feature that it can't handle. This should be something it should be able to handle. Now, would it potentially handle it a little bit slower? Maybe. But even still, I don't see that at this point in time. It's like, okay, cool. Your phone can run Fortnite and PUBG and Genshin Impact, and it can do all this crazy AI stuff, and it's got all this powerful AI under the hood, but it can't do the most menial, simple of AI tasks possible. I don't buy it. So anyway, that's all I got. Let me know your thoughts and comments. Go to the comment section. We'll discuss this. I want to talk about it. I want to get some feedback from you guys, but it kind of rubs me the wrong way. So that's all I got. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you guys next time.